Some Donna Summer for Steve Sipple from on3.com, Husker Online, and 93.7 The Ticket. Hello, Sip.
What's that Donna Summer song? I can't hear the music this time.
It's
we'll turn it up for you. I don't know.
I feel love.
Which would get you canceled now.
Or is it Love to Love You Baby? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's one of her songs.
But very suggestive. Yeah. It's very suggestive.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you're playing it.
Like, okay, so I'm going to rattle off some Donna Summer songs. You tell me yay or nay. She Works Hard for the Money.
Yay.
Last Dance.
Interesting song. What?
Last Dance.
Yay.
Heaven Knows.
Don't know it.
Okay. That's fair. How about On the Radio? On the Radio.
Pretty good. She started to wane a little bit at that time, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
she was 70s. That's 70s. A lot of that 70s. It might be something. It might bleed into the 80s. I think a lot of that 70s.
Yeah, that's right in your wheelhouse.
There's no better decade.
Oh, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Could not agree more. I listen to 70s music probably more than any 22-year-old in the country. I love it.
You have an old soul, and that is we can bond over that for years to come.
Sip, you and I can hold hands and listen to Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band any day of the week.
We do not need to hold hands.
You guys could be in the middle of the summer. You'll be out at Pinewood Ball.
No, we'll go
rocking back and forth.
No, Sip. We'll go to Tavern on the Square together. I know the people who run it, so we'll get the DJ. They'll pull out a speaker and we'll just listen to "Roll Me Away." See, I can't sing. I won't sing it.
Wow, "Roll Me Away." That's a good one.
I love "Roll Me Away." That and Night Moves. Night Moves, I think, is my favorite.
Oh, this is authentic. Good job.
No, this isn't a bit. Sip, this ain't a bit. Bob Seger is my favorite artist. It's my dad's favorite artist as well.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Nice.
A common friend of ours said to ask you, why do you hate Aldi's?
I don't know. I just get to hives. It's hard. I don't know. It's hard.
Does it start with the fact you got to have a quarter to get the cart?
Oof.
That and the no bag thing. I've got caught on that before. Some of it's just you get a list, and it's sometimes it's hard to find stuff. Sometimes.
It is hard. And I feel like Sip too. I'm right. I'm kind of on the train with you because I feel like with everything being cheap, I get pulled into a vortex of like, oh, it's only $2. I'll buy that, where I don't really need it. I don't really need the lobster dip, right?
A lot of it, right. A lot of it with me is just the list can be very specific, and it's not stuff that I would buy. I just don't. I deal with the one at Manawa. It's been hard. I don't even like to think about it. Think of stuff.
All right, sticking with the theme of Bob Seger, on a long and lonesome highway east of Omaha, Iowa got a portal quarterback. Nebraska has. How would you describe the not necessarily the 15 that are in the boat out of the portal, but how aggressive Nebraska has been in December and post bowl with visits and commitments in the portal?
Very aggressive, and I think they've done an excellent job. I mean, they could really close what's been a strong sort of, we'll call it portal season, with quite an exclamation point. Getting Elijah Pritchett is good. That's good. That's a good pickup. Getting Shaez Pete here, the tackle from New Mexico State, and with a very good chance to get him.
Mm-hmm.
If you got those two and this kid Jonah Wilson, receiver from Houston, that would be a strong close. I've just been really. They've changed their team. Well, the defense is going to look a lot different, and I think the offense. Well, obviously the offense is going to look a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've done at receiver to me is borderline remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you give Dana Holgerson a lot of credit there. You give the whole operation credit. Everything from Sean Padden, the general manager, to the NIL folks, and of course the leader Matt Rhule. So the team's going to look quite a bit different, and I think it's pretty promising what we're looking at right now.
Sip, I'm sure that you've been watching these college football playoffs here, the quarterfinals, and now we're in the semifinals, the first round. We have 4 teams remaining: Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Texas. When you watch these 4 teams play, what is the biggest difference between those teams and where Nebraska is visually for you?
Ooh. I mean, I don't think Nebraska. See, I'm of the mind that Nebraska's not that far off. So I don't. The reason it's probably good that I'm struggling to answer the question. A lot of depth is an obvious answer. Overall depth, I think it depends on now, Matt. That maybe another reason I'm struggling is it kind of depends who you're talking about.
Okay, good point.
With Penn State, for instance, is much better at running back, so it's a different look. You get a much different. That they can really run it, and Nebraska's not. Nebraska can't say that about. Ohio State is sort of otherworldly at the skill positions. You can't say that about Nebraska recently. And Nebraska doesn't have Juckins and Trayvon Henderson, and they don't have Jeremiah Smith. I mean, it's a much different picture there. But if you look at Notre Dame, I don't know what makes Notre Dame that much better than Nebraska. It shouldn't be. Probably more physical up front. But again, Nebraska's not. I don't think Nebraska's that far away.
Wow.
So there's not there's some players that they needed to get, but I think they've got them. And so what if Nebraska wins 9 next year, which seems feasible to me?
Mm-hmm.
If you win 9, you're in the hunt.
Yep.
You're in the playoff hunt at that point.
Yeah.
So that's what I guess that's where I'm coming from.
They have a schedule. I know you don't want to do this, and most people don't. But if you just look from the outside, they have a schedule that if you're going to make a run and get to 9 in the Big Ten, that's a schedule that can help you because there's enough games where you're probably going to be a favorite, and there's a couple of games on there that are going to be sexy to people that are going to try and judge your resume.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of it will come down. The trouble part of it, the trouble part of the conversation, the challenging part of the conversation is November. Nebraska hasn't been good in November. Mm-hmm. Look at what they've done the last 2 Novembers. They have to change that because the schedule gets really tough in November next year. And if they are going to take a next step, it'll have to be that. It's one reason I was sort of heartened this season that they were able to beat Wisconsin and then win the bowl game. Win the bowl game's in December. I get it, but you got to see Nebraska start playing well late in the season. That's where you make the hay, and that's something next year that I think you watch closely. And unfortunately, the schedule part it gets tougher in November next year. Yeah. You're going to Penn State. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a tough November schedule.
You ever see 29 DBs on a roster before?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I have. I don't know for sure. Now, Evan Cooper used to say, he said something very pragmatic, and that is, 5 of our guys there's 5 guys in the secondary that constitutes almost half the defense. So there's going to be a lot of them, but there won't be 29 to start the season next year at Nebraska. There'll be a few fewer, but that's a lot.
Do you think it might affect the culture a little bit in the fact that once spring ball comes, everyone in that DB room is looking around being especially some of the guys in the back end are going to be like, we're not all going to be here. And they're looking left and right of them and saying, all right, I got to take your spot. I got to be your nightmare. I got to cut you out if I'm going to continue to be on this team. Do you think that, I don't know, are you concerned maybe of the tension that could be caused there within? And it's not only just going to be the DB room. It might be every room is going to undergo that with the 105 rule.
I think some of that tension's good.
Yeah.
I've always believed in that. I've always been of the mind that tension can be a good thing.
Sure.
discomfort can make you better. I don't. If you have a lot of guys over there feeling comfortable, I don't think that's what you want. So, yeah, I mean, am I worried about? No, I'm not. I mean, it's a reality based discussion, and part of the reason I'm not worried is because Rhule is very blunt. He can be very blunt, and he's very real with the kids. He doesn't blow smoke to these players, which is good. It's a great trait that Rhule has.
I agree.
He's very frank about their standing. He's not gonna, and generally, I think that's what players want anyway. So no, I'm not. To answer your question, I'm really not worried about that.
Okay.
Hey, the aggressive in the portal, also aggressive in recruiting. December is different now for high school recruiting, but the staff is out in recruiting. So a Mosey and a Williams is on the trail, along with guys that are on-field staff. There's a special teams opening. I know you've talked about Mike Eckler plenty on your show. When do the chairs stop moving on the staff for 2025? Is there only one open, or is there maybe a couple of openings on the staff?
I think, with Barthel out on the road and with Satterfield out on the road, I think that tells you there's one opening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's sometimes just sort of natural attrition. A job pops up and somebody leaves. That can happen. But my sense of it is that I don't think there's going to be much more change. I don't, there's a special teams coordinator that has to be hired. And other than that, with the main, we'll call it the main group of assistants, I don't foresee anything right now. I could be wrong, and these things can get complicated if you just go back to the Bo Pelini era, for instance. He wouldn't announce what we'll call firing.
Mm-hmm.
He'd keep guys on until they found another job. Some of that can happen where you tell a guy, "Hey, I'm not gonna fire you. You got to find another job. We'll keep you around." And it happened. It happened with Sean Watson.
True.
It happened with a few other guys where it never really got announced as a fire, and they're just sort of all of a sudden gone.
Yeah, Sip. So obviously, look, they're going to go out, they're going to hire a special teams coordinator, but I've always thought that special teams is indicative of the culture of a team. It starts at the top, obviously, with Matt Rhule, and he's done a good job establishing a culture in his time here at Nebraska. But do you think that he's got to put more emphasis on the special teams himself, not necessarily just hiring a coordinator with a pedigree that can produce results, that he himself has to put in more time, more effort, and more exclamation on the special teams unit?
Well, those numbers would suggest yes. And I think that's the best way to answer it without trying to, answer it like an insider, No, the numbers were bad. And I'm not just talking about 10 block kicks. I'm talking about being ranked in the hundreds and in a lot of them in the hundreds nationally in the major statistical categories. I think all you have to really do is point at the numbers and then add to that it's not a personnel issue. I've talked to people that study it. They've watched every game. They've watched film of every game. I don't think Nebraska had a personnel issue. They play guys. They play good players on their special teams. They play starters on their special teams. And I just said earlier, I don't think Nebraska's that far away. And so it's not a personnel issue. I just have to think I think schematically there were some flaws. A lot of the issues though were if you just look at it, a lot of it was snapper and holder. And it wasn't protection, in a lot of cases, especially if you're talking about PAT and field goals. It wasn't a protection issue. It was snap hold. I don't believe it was a kicker issue. I think John Hold's fine. So that's the way I'd answer it. I think there probably needs to be more emphasis from the top, just based on what we saw.
All right. Tonight and tomorrow night, semifinals. The national championship game will be.
It's really hard to call right tonight. I mean, it seems like a pick'em game. I'd take Penn State, Ohio State, though. I think Penn State isn't interesting. I think Ohio State is playing so well, and it's just it's sort of simplistic what's going on. They have all that talent, and then a chip got put on their shoulder. And when there's a chip on the shoulder of a talented group of people, that gets scary. And Ohio State's pretty scary. I don't know why I'd pick Penn State tonight. I just think it's very evenly matched, and probably Penn State's better running game. They're healthy at running back, probably a little bit better quarterback, in my opinion. And if Abdul Carter plays, then I'd really like him. That's a game time decision, but he's a difference making defender, obviously. I just like Penn State by a very slight margin.
All right. Good stuff. Sip, as always, we appreciate the conversation. Have a wonderful end of the week and the weekend.
You guys are great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sip.
That's Steve Sipple, Omaha resident.